Hi, this is going to be an introduction for an introductory lab for you to do for ecology. This is sort of our anchor, and we're going to keep coming back to this as we go through the unit. Now, for this lab, for introduction, I'm doing a video. I'd rather you did not do a video. I want you to do pictures, and then in a Google Doc, put in the relationships and stuff like that, because it's much easier to correct a Google Doc than to correct a video. So, I'm showing a tour of my backyard here, actually in the front yard too, and we're going to be looking at different relationships between different species, and some things we can see and some things I've seen aren't around here. One thing, first of all, I notice, you should look at how many different types of organisms, like, for example, down over here, you can see a bumblebee. I think it's a bumblebee flying around. It's big enough to be one, I think. And bumblebees all bees are herbivores, and of course that they eat pollen and stuff like that. And I don't see a lot of those around, but I do see a lot of plants. And there are some predators here. I don't see any right now. They are around. A lot of them are insects, and you can't see them, and they're birds, which right now aren't here. There are a couple feral cats that come through here, and these cats, there's once I seen them chase after a squirrel, and that's more of a predator-prey relationship. And I've also seen a scavenger relationship where I saw the cat pick up a cicada, which is a large type of insect, and first played with it and then ate it. So after I finished the video, I walked back, and there's the feral cat. So just wanted to show here. That's the one that ate the cicada. The cicada was dead. That's why I say it's a scavenger. The squirrel, there's nothing in here for it to eat, but what it does do is it goes into this area over here and it buries nuts that it picked up elsewhere. And the relationship between the squirrel and the tree, well, you could think that it's herbivore, it's herbivore plant, which it is because it is eating it, but it also is a help relationship, because even though the squirrel is eating the seeds that could come into like an oak tree or something like that, it is helping spread the acorns to different places where if the squirrel forgets about it, and they do forget some, even though the memory of where things are is much, much better than ours, forgets about it, then the tree will grow where it couldn't have gone elsewhere. Now over here, if you look at, you see this white stuff that's on these leaves here, that's actually a fungus. And this plant is, at least with the oldies, I don't see too much on the newer ones, but it looks like the older ones, the plant's sick. This is, the fungus is basically eating parts of the plant. And this is called a thing called a rust. And you notice over here we see evidence of an herbivore, most likely slugs that are eating the leaves of this plant. And over here we see, let's see, I don't see it here, but you see that's a cobweb. So there you've got a spider being a predator. Of course, these other insects. Now over here we got sort of this, like right here, these are called liverworts, and they're sort of they're really interesting. They're one of my favorite plants. They're very unusual and actually they're ancient, because they're a primitive type of plant. Like something like this grass here. Actually, it's better if I show you over here. You see the lines on the leaves? These are basically like its arteries and veins. In them, you've got phloem, which carries nutrients, and xylem that carries water. And that's the transport system for the plant. And that enables the plants, for example, these trees can be so tall is because it's got vascular tissues, like xylem and phloem, that are able to carry the water all the way up from the roots all the way up high in those trees, and carry the nutrients in the leaves all the way down to the roots. These plants here, they don't have that. That's why they're so small. They also don't have pollen. Pollen contains sperm, and these just have sperm. You see little cups there? Those cups contain sperm. And when it rains, the water from the raindrops splashes it, moves the sperm out, and the sperm will then swim over from a male plant to a female plant, and will make a baby plant, which will grow out of. Actually, I'm sorry. Those cups contain the eggs. There are male plants around, but I don't see any of the structures that make it. In the spring, I saw lots of them, and I also saw lots of the babies coming out. The babies are like a little stalk that come out, looks like an umbrella, and the the spores will come out and will spread out and make new liverworts. These are related to mosses, which are also non-vascular plants. Let's move on. Now, just want to point out here, got rosebush, and interesting thing about this rose here, this is not really ecology, this is more of genetics. This is a clone. I picked this up back in 2003 at Epcot Center when it was in a Petri dish. Clone means that it didn't come out through normal ways. They took out some cells, and they made a whole new plant from it. But the flowers, of course, are those are the reproductive organs of the plant, and other and bees and stuff like that will come in and pollinate it. Biggest flower, by the way, that in the world, that actually smells like poop, unfortunately, because they attract flies, and the flies go there thinking that it's poop, and they go there to lay their eggs, and they end up pollinating the flower. Now, this is a pear tree, a flowering pear tree, so the pears are really, really tiny, and this illustrates a relationship that we see, that birds will come, they'll eat the pear, and they then digest the seeds, which go through their gut, and when they poop, it allows the seed to have a whole bunch of fertilizer, which will help the sapling grow. Okay, so right here we've got some moss, which is a non-vascular plant growing on the tree. And here's what I wanted to show you. This is called a lichen. Now, lichens show that the air quality here, if you see it, means the air quality is pretty good, because they don't do well in pollution. And this is actually two organisms. You've got an algae, which is usually an aquatic organism that does photosynthesis, gets energy from the sun just like a plant, but it's not a plant. Plants evolved from algae. And you've also got fungus in there too. And they are pioneering organisms. You'll see that means that when you've got like some sort of disturbance, like a fire or something like that, you could end up, or a volcanic eruption. These things can grow without any soil, and in this case, they're growing on a tree trunk. And the fungus and the algae, they help each other, and their help is so necessary that they cannot survive without the other. Now, I don't see one this year, but once every few years, I see a bald-faced hornet's nest up here. And bald-faced hornet, it's not something you want to mess with because, like, if you try to knock down their hive, they will attack you and they will chase you. But they are actually pretty good to have around. They're predators, and when the hive is in the tree, so the predators, they eat other insects. When the hive is in the tree, what happens, what type of relationship is that between the tree itself and the hornets? Well, in one sense, the hornets get help because they've got a place where they can put their hive out of reach of predators. And the tree isn't really harmed by it at all, so it could be nothing. But on the other hand, it could be help because you got a bunch of hornets around here. Those hornets can then eat the insects that are eating the tree. Let's see. Here you got some daisies. And that's reproductive too. And right. Well, there we got not the pollinator I was looking for. You've got a fly there. There were right here. Okay, so here you see a bee here that is getting nectar, and while it's doing that, it's picking up the pollen. And so this is a mutualistic relationship where the flower gets pollinated. The bee might say helps it with sex, and the bee gets food. By the way, this type of flower is sort of very unusual. It's called a composite flower. This is not one flower. It's actually hundreds of flowers. Petal here is an individual flower. Each little yellow thing you see in there is also an individual flower. It's composite. It's composed of many, many different flowers. So daisies, asters, sunflowers, all these are composite flowers. So that brings us to the end of my tour. So what I'm looking for is I'd like you to have like say five or six different organisms. Could be in your backyard. If you don't have a backyard, go to a park nearby. And it could also be organisms that you don't see, but you've seen in that area, or that you know are in that area. Like, for example, years and years ago, I was driving to the driveway, and I saw a coyote in my driveway. Haven't seen one there since. I know there are also raccoons around here, but I almost never see them. A lot of the organisms, you don't, like, you could be having a barbecue in your backyard, and then and at the same time, at the other end of your yard, you've got a coyote, and or a raccoon. You've got no idea they're there. So the coyote, it's a predator. It'll eat rabbits. It'll eat mice. So I want you to throw out organisms that are in the ecosystem that you're looking at. It could be your yard. It could be a park. And how are the different organisms relating to each other? Are they helping each other? Are they hurting each other? Also say something about the numbers that you have. Like, which do you find the greatest here? Are there more plants? Are there more things that eat the plants, like the herbivores? Are there more things that eat the herbivores, the predators? So I'd like you to take pictures and put your answers into a Google Doc. And that concludes the end of my tour here. And I look forward to seeing your lab.